The barrier to entry on building apps has gotten very low. Why don't we build a cockpit to see how all your apps are doing and what the key metrics are?
I saw the market share of WordPress going down. I would still be curious to see how many people are like vibe coding versus using WordPress. It's so easy to make a site like this now rather than having to mess with containers, like very complicated over a large scale website.
Companies like WordPress, where it wasn't natural language oriented, are going to have to re-anchor their products to be natural language oriented, because otherwise, eventually they'll just get consumed. What do you feel like doing this week? I mean, I had an idea I've scratched out here. We're basically in the middle of vibe coding, and I know you hate that phrase, but we're in the middle of building a slew of apps, but it's beginning to get, or it could get, a little bit overwhelming, especially if we keep doing this and building, app after app. So how do we manage everything? What are your thoughts?
I think what would really help with all these apps that we're trying to manage is like some kind of like dashboard with like, at a minimum to start, like analytics. I think that would be a really good way, like, to see like views. And then once we start building apps with like revenue related things, we can actually include that in there. So that kind of might be like a great way to get started. And maybe we can vibe code something like that.
I love that idea. I mean, I think that, there's so many folks out there that are playing around with Claude Code, GPT and Codex, and they're building just a ton of apps. So the barrier to entry on building apps has gotten very low, but sitting back and managing all those is still pretty cumbersome and time consuming. So I love your idea. I sketched out what I think we could build, which is, why don't we build a cockpit for all these apps that we're building? And, therefore you have one-stop shopping to see how all your apps are doing and what the key metrics are.
Yeah, let's do it. And have some cool charts and things that we can show off too once we actually collect data. Well, let's get started. Kind of like as usual, let's use our own app, OneShot, to actually create our app here. So I'm going to bring up it. All right, so we're here in OneShot. So let's get started. We'll make a prompt like usual. I did add some features.
While you're doing that, I'll just mention to the viewers that OneShotCode.app has evolved since we first created it, right? I mean, there's been a bunch of updates and changes that we've made.
Yeah, I noticed like if you would want to add like a feature, it might be really helpful, or do a bug fix or just refactor code. Before, it was only designed for new projects. Of course, that's what we're going to be doing here, but we added some more options here in case you just want to like update an existing project and get a prompt for that for Claude Code or Codex.
Yeah, I think that's great because there's people that have already built stuff and now they just need to bug fix it. They need to add new features. And so OneShotCode.app can help with that.
So I guess we didn't think of a name. I wonder, I love that your use of Cockpit. I wonder if that should be part of it, or Pulse or something like that. Something kind of fun that like is memorable. Maybe not as many words as One-Shot Code, but let's.
Yeah, we could go with Pulse, right? Because it's basically the pulse, the heartbeat of your vibe coded apps. So I like Pulse. Why don't we do Pulse?
Let's do Pulse. I guess, should we call it like Pulse Analytics or Pulse to give it kind of more of a differentiator?
Yeah, I like Pulse Analytics. I have to imagine that's taken in terms of the URL.
All right, let's go with Pulse Tower, and we'll go next, and let's describe what we're doing here. So,
wait, pause real quick. I just came up with an idea, which I don't know why, and no one else has done this, but why wouldn't we just build an AI tool or an AI bot that puts combinations of words together and checks to see if they're available URLs, and then cross-references that against like URL pricing, what might be a high value URL, and then we just go out and buy a bunch of these URLs.
Okay, Raul, we can only make one app per episode, so but we will make that. That's a great idea. We'll put that in the to-do list, because that would definitely help us, and that's kind of what we're all here about, like solving issues we're having. Let's describe it here. So a simple dashboard where users can sign up with Convex. That's the auth system I like to use in database for authentication. Just so we have a way. We're actually going to let other people sign up and use the app too. And let's do teams too, right? I guess then I can invite you.
Yeah, it shouldn't just be an individual, because eventually you know, if you're building a slew of apps, you're likely going to start to build out a small team to help oversee and manage those.
I also added use resend for emails. So we use that for emails, and react.email for nice looking emails. Basically, these are just things that we already have set up ourselves. So I kind of want to like just embed that in the project, so then we're ready to go kind of off the jump.
Can you just explain what Convex is, though?
If you make an app, a web app, you need a database. And if you want people to be able to log in, you have to have some kind of authentication and all that kind of stuff. And Convex offers a really easy way to make a backend for your site. And of course, it's great with AI because AI can write all the schema and all that kind of stuff and kind of create all the logic. And the cool thing is it's all updated in real time. So in our example here, if we had the analytics going through Convex, for example, the dashboards would actually move in uptime or in real time. So a lot of the aspects of Convex are in real time, which is really fun. But they offer so many different things: authentication, components. They also have their own AI coding platform, so you can kind of vibe code through there. But yeah, the real time aspect and the database elements are just kind of like really essential to building any interactive app. Similar to Firebase, as you can see, or Supabase. Also great products, but I like this one just because you can, for one price, create like unlimited projects. So it's a lot easier to manage everything at once.
Yeah, I'm so used to like SQL and SQL database. And so it's basically a replacement for a SQL database.
Exactly. One easy dashboard to view sites and projects. I guess that an analytics system. I was thinking about an analytics system, and let's just see what happens if I say analytics system, and maybe it can be on top of Convex, but analytics in general can be kind of expensive to run. So we'll see kind of what it does with this.
Let me throw a suggestion out there. I mean, would it be better for us to say one easy dashboard to view, all projects and vibe coded sites and the key KPIs or key performance indicators or key performance metrics? Because if you say analytics, I think is that overcomplicating it? It's basically like, show me a dashboard where I could see all the projects I've created and how they're performing from a number of users, dollars of revenue, number of page views kind of thing. Those are basically the key performance metrics, right?
Exactly. So let's explain that a little bit in detail. I added the KPI here. So we will need like an analytics system though. So of course we could have this integrate with like Google Analytics or some other platform, but I actually am going to make it so we make our own embed code. So basically we can add a little snippet to all of our sites that our tool can then pull data from and like pull those metrics. But we'll also do payments too. So let's do this one first. Can have JS embedded so that it can pull page views, etc., in a privacy-oriented way. I like to put privacy-oriented in a way because, you can collect a lot of data just from someone visiting a website, and you can get into like a lot of like legal issues if you don't exclude IP addresses and things like that. So maybe telling the AI to kind of be on the guardrail there would be good. Another KPI is revenue, which can be handled with a Stripe integration. We don't actually use Stripe currently. That's one of my favorite payment processors, but I'll just put that in there, and then we'll see down the line if that works correctly. Are there any other KPIs we should include? Or
if you're thinking about a vibe coded app, right, it's page views, it's dollars through of revenue. Those are the main things I think people really are sort of focused on.
I'll put page views, dollars, and all important KPIs, and maybe Git history so you can see like when stuff was deployed. I think that would be good. So people may have to authenticate with GitHub. I think of it for like a cockpit for vibe coders. I think that's a good thing to have at the end. Include plenty of useful charts. Using charts, or we talked about Chad CM before. I'll put that in here also, just so we have kind of a visual style. I'll say use Tailwind. Use Next.js. I know we're getting kind of technical here. When we made Floppy DOS, I think the app turned out so well because we had kind of like a theme. I wonder if we should make it like themed like a give it like really inspiration for like the design.
You're right. Like when you give the context to Claude Code, it does a much better job. Or you give it like a, hey, clone this type of look and feel. And we really did that with Floppy DOS. We're like, make it look like an old school green screen, type of application. So first of all, we could tell it to give this a retro look and feel. We could tell it to just clone another site. I mean, do you have something in mind?
I think like neo-brutalism. I don't know if you've ever seen websites like this, but this is kind of like a new pattern. Not really that new, but just like a popular design formula, like bright colors, really flat, like big shadows. Might look kind of cool if we like, it'll differentiate it from other apps. But yeah, just kind of that. Like,
let's not build something that looks like everything else. I like this idea. Yeah, like let's just make it really unique.
I'm gonna say lean hard into neo-brutalism web design. We want this to be unique and really feel special. Cool. I don't even know if there's anything else.
Well, does it need a way, if somebody else was going to do this, obviously we're building this for the purposes of tracking all the apps that we're building on this show, but what if somebody else wants to use this dashboard? They can sign up on the website and then they can pull in their projects. There's going to be a way for them to pull in their projects?
Yeah, so this exactly. So that'll be, that's why it's using Convex for auth. So it should be, I guess we'll note like, the app will be free at the moment. Anyone can sign up, allow. Yeah. Cool. I don't know if there's anything else we should include here. I'm going to say make a cool looking landing page and build out the entire app, including tracking scripts. All right. This is kind of a big app now, so we'll see how this goes.
You're right. This is definitely the biggest ask we're going to make of Claude Code. Or you're planning on using Claude Code or Codex?
I think Claude Code.
Yeah, this is going to be the biggest ask we've asked of Claude Code. So it'll be interesting to see what it gins up.
I mean, after we set this up, we're going to have to do a lot of things like API keys and all that kind of stuff. We'll kind of skip over that in the episode, but for your average user, it might be kind of complicated at first. So definitely start small and like, even your website sending emails can be a bit complicated.
Right. And I just want to say here, in this particular build, Andy has been very technical. You've been very technical in the one-shot description. You don't have to be that technical if you're, just an average non-technical individual. You could just be very, very functional and speak in plain language into OneShot, and it'll still spit out a really strong app.
I just like to be more opinionated here since we have things built already to kind of grab this stuff already. So it's just asking about some more technical questions here. So yeah, let's go with I said neo-brutalism, which is usually bright, but it's saying dark mode first. Let's see how that looks. Could be kind of cool to have.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because, neo-brutalism usually is more light mode, isn't it?
Yeah. So we'll see what it does here because I do love dark mode. So we'll see.
Okay.
All right. Yes, we want multiple websites, and we'll be deploying on Vercel. All right. So now we'll get our Claude Code app, and then we'll get coding.
I haven't seen what the metrics are around how many folks have hit OneShotCode.app, how many folks have hit Floppy DOS. So it'll be kind of cool to have just that macro level dashboard.
You can see it's a dark neo-brutalism analytics cockpit for 5 coders. This is going to be cool. We might have to set up some things because we have to do GitHub OAuth and things like that. So I've never set that up, but I assume it's pretty easy.
I mean, we'll just ask Claude.
Well, that you have to go to the actual site and set it up.
It's saying to install Stripe. Do we really need to install Stripe?
Well, if we want to do payment metrics.
Yes, got it.
Which it gave me an option. It basically is do you want to let users connect their Stripe, or do you want to have it just be like an API key? And I just did the API key one just so it's easier. Yeah, it's really going all out here. So it's has everything set up. This might take a while to run this prompt.
Yeah, this one is definitely more robust than floppy DOS.
See, I love, I turned on for OneShot. It actually searches like live data. So it actually knows the current version of Next and React and things like that. Because before it was giving us like old suggestions because the LLMs are just trained on old things. All right. I think we're almost done here. Let's see.
Oh,
It's even doing the theme.
Wow, look at how detailed that prompt is. I mean, this is a thing. I don't know that anybody would write a prompt at this level of detail. So you really need something like OneShot app to help you, generate your prompt.
And I even added a way to like refine it. So if you want to add a follow-up, you can be like, remove this component or add a certain thing. And like it'll refine the prompt. That looks good to me. Let's just hop over to Claude Code. All right. And as you can see, I already am in my project here. So let's just paste the prompt. Let's just go for it.
So Andy, have you completely converted to using the Claude Code app as opposed to working with Claude Code through your terminal?
For projects and editing code, yes. That I'm very impressed by the app. And the fact that it can screenshot and run the app, I think gives it a kind of power that the terminal can't really simulate. Like when it can actually see the design and understand what's happening, it like can really pinpoint issues. But the command
through the preview, right? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah, the app is very powerful. The command line version is still very good though. And it's asking if like we should build everything or
this is a massive project. I love how it says that.
It's like you're asking too much. Should I just do the full build and see what happens? Or should we just do the okay. All right, let's do it. Let's see what happens.
Let's do full build. I mean, it might take a while.
I'm also using Opus 4.6, the 1 million context version, so we'll see how this goes. I would bet it takes like 10 minutes.
Explain why. Like, why'd you choose Opus 4.6 as opposed to Sonnet 4.6?
It's just more powerful. It's their most powerful model, so that's basically like the best option to have available. And the 1 million context just gives it more context, and you'd see it turned it into a plan here. So we'll just let it run and do its thing.
What if you click on preview? What does it show?
Let's give it a minute because it'll try to run. Basically, when you hit preview in Claude Code, it tries to run the actual app. And if you do that while it's working, it basically puts a prompt in the chat that's like, start the app. And then, it'll drop what it's doing to like figure that part out. So I like to wait until it's done working. At least from what I've gathered, while testing this a lot is kind of how I've seen it work.
That makes sense. I mean, I think my uninitiated mind was like, oh, if I click on preview, it'll just show me while it's building, it'll just show me, kind of the building blocks being built up. But you're right. It probably has to hit pause on what it's doing and compile what it has built so far.
So it will do what you're saying. Like once the preview is running, the way Next.js and a lot of Node applications work, it's like live updating. But like just the where we are in this point, it just won't get there. If we started a new chat, then I hit preview, it would probably try to create like a blank server. And then once we actually get started with the project, it would like need to redo it because it didn't know it was going to be Next.js. So, but yeah, in general, like once you get that preview going, you'll be able to see like live it updating. But I just don't want to interrupt what it's doing here.
Yeah, the thing that I love about working with Claude Code as sort of a non-technical guy is it just kind of feels like magic. The other thing I relate it to is if you ever watch HGTV and they're doing a makeover of a house, you've got like the before and then you're waiting for the reveal. And I feel like on this, I'm like waiting for the reveal and it's super exciting. Like you can't wait to see what this thing comes up with.
I mean, as a developer, I feel the same way. It's very magical. And I especially love how it iterates too. Like it's definitely like, does the task and then like verifies but like you can see as it runs commands and things like that. Like the way they've set up the scaffolding here is very works very great. I don't know if you saw over a week, Claude Code source code was also leaked.
I saw that. And Claude Anthropic has basically tried to put a cease and desist. It was like within 80 different Git repositories, their source code was showing up or something like that.
I did not see that. I mean, it's definitely, once it's out there, it's out there. So I bet we'll see the Codex app get better and a lot of other open source apps get better.
Yeah. because it's basically the
however
back
this
end.
is working, yeah, like the prompts and how it's reading files, like all the type of stuff is really proprietary, really.
Did it say how it got out? How did it get leaked?
I believe so. Remember in the first episode, we used Bun to compile the app. It was like a package management. Apparently, there was a bug with Bun, which ironically they make. I think there was some bug with that let like the source code out of the app, basically. Because most Mac apps now are just they're usually built on something called Electron, which is like it's just a website in an app, like wrapper, basically. So I think that's how this is working.
You know, what do you think this Claude Code is going to do to the world of WordPress and WordPress built websites and, you know, these other CMSs? Like, how is this going to impact that world?
I think at the end of the day, people want solutions. I think for a lot of users, this is probably too complex to like figure out and chat. Granted, I think ChatGPT has also made most people expect most products to work like a chat, but WordPress is actively working on adding kind of like an MCP to WordPress sites so you can kind of interact with a chat interface. So I bet soon we'll see kind of more apps come out where you can like say update this setting and it goes through and does that. Because I think most users have an issue with WordPress and like where the settings are and what this is. So I think they really do need to rapidly make something like that because it's so easy to make a site like this now rather than having to mess with containers. And I'm sure anybody who's made a WordPress site knows like the padding of all these boxes and the congruency of all of the design elements. It's like very complicated over a large scale website, and using AI like to actually read everything that's going on and figure out like the small differences. I think that's the biggest thing is like orchestrating code with like your commands, basically. Like, you know, you don't want AI to take all of your thinking out, but you want the legwork taken out of like fixing a certain margin on a thing or a rounded corner being the same on the entire site. And like currently, if you're using a WordPress site, that's very difficult to do on the whole site if you haven't set it up correctly. And the average user probably hasn't. And I think AI can fix a lot of that. But yeah, I saw the market share of WordPress going down. I would still be curious to see how many people are like vibe coding versus using WordPress. Because obviously having that interface to edit the site and stuff like that is still really helpful. And like having themes, having software like for forms, like, you know how I said sending an email is kind of complicated. Like having those things as integratable things in WordPress are like much easier to have an interface for that.
Yeah, I think we're still at the early days of vibe coding, so to speak. It's moving really fast, and so it does feel like there is a fair amount of adoption. But I think if you zoom out and you look broadly across like the country or across the globe, it's still a very small portion of the population that is actually building stuff using Claude Code. But having said that, I think for sure we've moved in the direction of using just regular natural language to build stuff. And it's obviously, as as you can see on this show, it's a little more involved than just pure natural language. But I think companies like WordPress, where it wasn't natural language oriented, are going to have to re-anchor their products to be natural language oriented, because otherwise, eventually they'll just get, they'll get consumed by things like Claude.
I totally agree. And like, they already have that like technical part of the app built. So if you already have a pre-existing website and they added some kind of chat functionality, I think that would be, that's kind of what they're working towards. So it is happening. But I think, yeah, you're right. Like, for an average user, editing their background for their header can be very difficult. But like AI could just know all the code in your site, know your database, and just figure it out. But you're still in control. And even as a non-technical person, you can make more detailed edits to your site than like you previously could. And I think that's like the beauty of AI, really.
All right, where are we at? Let's see what it's doing.
I think we're about halfway through because it had a checklist pop up.
Oh, okay. So you saw the checklist and it had checked off half of the tasks. It gives you a clock at the bottom right, and it says we've been working for 12 minutes and however many seconds. Oh, whoop, where'd it go?
Yeah, it just went away. It just went away. It'll pop back up, I think, in a second.
So you get a clock, but it doesn't tell you this task will take me about an hour and 10 minutes or an hour and a half. You just sort of don't know. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So, I mean, like we've said before, AI it's just autocomplete. Really, that's what's happening. So it can't really predict what's going to happen. A great example would be like telling AI to come up with 5 things but like state the very first thing as its favorite. So like, it would be working. It can't work backwards in that way, if that makes sense. And that's why a lot of these models now think like the thinking is basically just it like, for example, it would create a list and then it would think and like pick the favorite. And then the final output would be the favorite first and then the list. So that's kind of how like the thinking aspect works. It's basically just running the prompt more times so it can kind of like plan ahead. But yeah, in terms of time, it's very difficult for it to like predict what's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised though if we see at some point like, all these apps, they could definitely add that, like, because they know when users ask this statement, how long it takes, and all these metrics and stuff they record, obviously.
I gotta imagine that eventually they'll add that. Yeah, because it just seems so intuitive to be like, oh, how long will it take? And can I go get up and go get myself a cup of coffee kind of thing? Like, as the user, you kind of want to know what time commitment is required to build something like this.
I think the actual goal here is to be instant. So like, if you type in like, create a sentence about coffee, and it takes a second to reply. Imagine a world where like, when you like double click coffee and type in like forest and it just like instantly has a sentence. That's a really small example, but like imagine your code base as just a master prompt that you actually like control. And then you just change words and the code base is instantly updated. And not even like, it's not even rendering it out. It can just instantly do the inference, It's kind of hard to think about, but that's, I think the end goal is to have the speed be infinitely like, if you were at 1 million tokens a second, it would be basically like that. Like you could just give it a giant prompt and it would spit out the result instantly. But I think that's like kind of the future of like interfaces and things like that. Because you could imagine like a chat app where you're like, oh, me and my friends always do polls or something. And it just adds that stuff to the interface automatically, instantly.
Have you played around with Codex, GPT and Codex?
I mean, I've used the model. I haven't used the app. So I assume this works better just based on how people are talking. But
yeah, all the buzz definitely seems to be about Claude Code. If you scan Twitter /X, you don't hear a lot about Codex.
Yeah. I mean, it's also, there's probably like a lot of marketing elements we don't see. Also, like there's probably things that we don't even know are happening. Because it only takes a couple of people who are popular in a space to post about something for it to be like the kind of formula.
I saw a funny meme yesterday where this super attractive woman has a sign and she's like holding it up and it's like, has anyone else lost their husband to Claude Code? And it's like, I definitely have the moments where when my wife comes by the office, looks in the window and is like, are you like vibe coding again?
It's like the way they priced it too, where it's like a monthly cost, not by token. You're like, well, I'm wasting. If I'm not 100% on my usage, I'm wasting every second that I'm not prompting and having to, create stuff.
Is it saying anything interesting? The Convex files don't exist since we haven't run da-da-da-da-da.
The way Convex works is like the database schema, like, what's in each database is a file. And then you have to run a terminal command to actually push that to the like dev environment, for example. So I think it's trying to like update that basically.
Okay.
I guess in the meantime, I could be making a Convex project also.
Oh, wow. It's like, okay, so it's informing you of some challenges that's happening. Instead of fighting with the stub files, let me take a different approach. Update all the imports to use a proper path alias from tsconfig. Okay.
We also picked like the most vibe coded app name ever. Like, it really is like a strange name.
Well, yeah, I think anybody that clicked on pulsetower.ai would be like, oh, yeah, that's a vibe coded. You can tell now when you visit a site, you can tell like this has been vibe coded. It's not, it's AI generated.
And, that's the thing about AI and like coding. Like, we keep talking about hyping it up, but you really also have to have taste and like know what is working and what's not. Like, you can make a great looking app with AI, but you prompting it with specific things that you're telling it is like the designing in a way, like, like how I gave the example about rounded borders and things earlier, like picking those type of things is still like part of the design process and building your app and still takes skill in a way.
Okay. I see you posted the Convex info, so it doesn't have to do its like weird workaround that it was trying to do.
I'm also putting in the dev deployment key in here, which like if you're vibe coding an app, definitely make sure if you're putting API keys in, like think of them as compromised because, all of these AIs are trained, on all this data and stuff like that. So definitely be careful when you put API keys in your chat. It's just something to think about. I do like, though, that you can send messages as it's going. I have noticed, though, it will eventually stop working sometimes. I don't know if you've ever had that. If you work a really long time, I've had Claude Code just stop functioning. I'm like, hello?
This is actually a good time to talk about API keys because for the uninitiated, those of us who just basically sign up on Anthropic's website and we're like, give me the monthly pro subscription to Claude. Folks may or may not know what an API key is and how it works. I only figured it out a few weeks ago when I was trying to build a bot. And I realized, I need an API key to do this. And let me go, sign up and figure out how to get one. So just by signing up with Anthropic for Claude Pro, you don't necessarily have an API key. And so, Andy, can you just sort of explain how API keys work and what they do?
Yeah. So, well, in terms of Claude and, OpenAI is similar. They have their $20 a month subscription to Claude Chat and Claude Code. It's kind of a shared subscription. So that's kind of what we're using here by using the Claude app. But they have a secondary developer platform, which that's where you can actually make an API key, and every request to that API key it's going to charge you at the end of the month. So you basically add funds to that account to charge you at the end of the month.
So for any app that you're building, that you're vibe coding, that then uses Claude, you have to have an API key that is baked into the app for it to call to Claude.
Yeah. So if you're making an app that involves AI, it needs AI for the app to function, you can't use your Claude subscription. You need an API key because all of these companies, obviously it makes sense. They want to be charging by request and by your usage. And there's tons of also platforms like Vercel AI Gateway and Cloudflare AI Gateway and OpenRouter. Those platforms, if you just sign up for those, it'll give you access with, I think, minimal upcharge to every model. So hundreds of different companies' models, and you can use them with one payment plan. Basically, it makes it really easy. They're the same way. They just give you an API key and you basically implement that.
And so if you do it through, say, for Vercel, does it choose the model that it goes to use when an LLM is called, or do you specify?
Every API request, you have to specify a model. So if you use, Google, if you use OpenAI, if you use Vercel AI Gateway, you basically tell it the model, which I think is kind of funny because I've been building for years with this stuff. So models have gone kind of extinct, and these platforms will email you change off of this model, and I'm like, why aren't we just doing can't you just make it so if you're still using the old model, it links to a newer, cheaper one, or, so then your apps keep working. But that's the type of stuff you have to think about. Will this model that I'm using, it won't be around in 6 months to a year. So you'll get emails like that and you'll have to update the model and things like that, which is really easy. It's just a text string.
But when you get a specific Claude API key, is that API key for a specific model like Sonnet or Opus, or is it just generally for Claude?
It's just for Claude generally, and it's your billing account basically. And if that got leaked, someone could just instantly rack up a bill on your behalf basically. But yeah, once you have an API key, you can easily kind of, if you get a Claude one and Anthropic one, you can only use the Anthropic models. If you get that, as I mentioned, the Vercel AI Gateway one, you'll have access to hundreds of different models, including Anthropic's, through one payment method. All right, so it says it set it up here. So see, it wants me to run Convex dev, which I mentioned is kind of the way where you deploy the schema and all that stuff. So I'm just going to be can you run? Obviously, I have a way to do that, but for the sake of what we're doing here, I just want to quickly do that. And then now I'm going to also click the preview button, and then we'll actually get this up and going. So you can see it kind of triggered a message here. So that's kind of what I was saying. It's figuring out how to run the app, which, isn't that complicated, but basically it's just figuring out all the details and setting up the environment for Claude to actually work. It is funny because it's counterintuitive how the preview button functions. It makes you not think it works that way. I think there's gonna be a lot broken here because I didn't set up the email server. So it's running Convex dev, which it has to run for Convex to actually work, which is kind of your app needs. I mainly want to see the design. It's going to be so bad. It's going to be so vibe coded.
Well, let's see. I mean, sometimes this stuff surprises you where you're like, oh man, that's so cool.
I mean, I think giving it the more detailed prompt, with in the beginning, we kind of said the theme. I think that is kind of like a big takeaway is you have to really at least have some opinion. Oh, whoa. See, this is weird. But hold on. Oh yeah, this is funky. Oh, whoa. I like that.
That's awesome.
I hate the glow and I hate the icons in the back, but I do like the buttons are cool.
It looks like neon. Yeah, I do like the buttons. I do like the buttons. Look at this is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I can't believe if you scroll up, it said your neo-brutalist analytics dashboard. It literally used the word neo-brutal.
It's like, this is what you want, right?
That's so funny. But it does look really good, Andy. I mean, this is pretty neat.
Yeah, I love it. Let's see what
it might be. If you could indulge me, like I wouldn't mind seeing what it would look like in light mode.
Yeah, let me do that. I think it had a button. Maybe we can't see the button, or let me just say, add a light mode option to the header. It's also funny to me it didn't add a header, so it's kind of like, most websites aren't like this,
But maybe that's the neo-brutalist design style, right?
Yeah,
normally you'd have like a hamburger bar or something.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny that it like went so crazy with it.
Oh, there you go. You got it to add a header, like a menu bar. Yeah.
Just give 1 second here.
Your cockpit, your code, your metrics.
It'll do some tweaks here. That's funny.
Where did you hear about neo-brutalism?
I mean, years ago when I was making one of my apps called Mighty Share, I kind of like, I saw a video on it on YouTube. That's kind of how I found out about it, maybe 5-6 years ago. Yeah, I don't think this is the best example of the design, but I've noticed a lot of apps kind of using that even, today even.
It can take direction like, hey, use neo-brutalist design, and it can come pretty damn close.
And there's probably like a neo-brutalism like design skill. Let me see if I'm going to look one up where we can see if that will help also. Use neo-brutalism.
I like it. So we're telling Claude Code to use this predefined skill pack, basically.
And what I like to do is tell it to go through with a fine-tooth comb. I constantly am doing that. Like, so then it kind of knows to go through everything. Because if you just say like, use the skill, it'll be like, okay. And like, it'll kind of do nothing a lot of times. We'll let it run for a minute. I'm doing something on a different screen here. I'm verifying our domain name so we can get the emails going.
It's so fun to watch it in preview. It looks like it took some of the, oh, look at that. It took like the shiny lights and now they're pulsing. All right. That's slick.
Yeah, I said to add some animations, so you can see that these are kind of moving here. And when you add animations, you want it to be subtle, so yeah, it looks funky. Let's see what it does with the skill also.
What has been your luck with using these like skill packs? Do you find that they're hit or miss, or do they really all the time kind of hit the nail on the head?
They're usually really good, but I think when you start a new project and I think it works a lot better when you have kind of a design system already in place or have pages on your site that already look good. That being said, yeah, most projects I work on now, I'll do like add animations with this skill pack, tweak the design with this skill pack. Basically, like a lot of small things like typography size, text color, things like that are really great with these skills packs.
There was a skill a skill pack that somebody developed, which was called Clone. And it basically will allow you to just clone. Is that a skill pack? I mean, it'll allow you to clone an existing website that you really like and clone their design basically.
Yeah, I think that was a skill pack. We should do that in another episode. That'd be really good. I mean, Claude probably would do pretty good too, just with a screenshot, but I bet the skill pack probably has more checks in place basically. The goal is basically so you don't have to go back and forth.
Yeah, and I think what the skill pack does is it literally goes to whatever website you point it to, and it gets into the back end and really has a direct clone of like the fonts they're using, the colors they're using. It's a true ripoff, which I don't know the trademark, implications there, but
yeah, I don't know either. But the web is kind of open in that way. But AI is good at plagiarism. That's like the main thing, and that's for better or worse. Like I definitely see it. It's kind of a plagiarism machine at the end of the day.
So did it do the fine tooth comb with the?
It's still going here. So
Oh, it's in the middle of that. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, it's changing some of the borders and stuff. Also, our email domain is almost verified, so it looks a little better. But yeah, the pulsing is strange, I think, or I don't know. Just this whole thing looks weird. But I do like that it's a bold design.
You're right, though. Like on first glance, it's not like appealing. It's not like, ooh, I love this. I want to like learn more and dive further into the site. It's a little bit. There's something about the design, and I don't think it's the neo-brutalist style. I think it just didn't nail it in terms of neo-brutalist style, or might need some further refinement.
Yeah, and I think maybe also doing the dark mode first was a mistake probably too. See, this is why I like Claude Code.app though. See how it's going through and actually screenshotting, because I think that is what really sets AI apart in terms of the design quality. Because when it can see that like this is a strange gap, it can kind of like understand better. While in code, it can't really fully understand that. Or maybe I don't even know if it's going to fix that, but you can see, I think that's kind of strange there. But yeah, when you see an app like this, you can tell it's like made with AI, and that's appealing, at least to me. I'm like, I don't even want to use this site. So, obviously we'll refine that and work with this a lot more.
So when you look at this, you see this is AI generated.
Yeah. And especially when there's no logo, like when the logo is text, because AI can't really do a great job at logo design. That's often a big flag to me, is like, okay, well, whoever made the site didn't even have the effort of making a logo. If they're not going to care, I'm not going to care. And I think that's an important thing to learn about making apps with AI. You have to really do have like that sense of like, this doesn't seem right.
Well, I think it's safe to say this one was a little bit more complex, and therefore we didn't one shot it.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, if you use like how I showed, Convex has their own AI platform, it probably would do a lot better because it can connect everything it needs properly, while we're doing here is like getting a prompt, and then it actually needs all these external things, and we're not giving that initially into the initial prompt. So that's kind of like the main issue here, I think. The email, I will say, that I got looks exactly like the website. It has the dark background, and it all looks good. Has that same theming.
That's cool. Unfortunately, it didn't like your code.
I'll see if they can fix that too.
Have you used within Convex the AI coding tool?
I have not. I think it's called Chef. I just think like using Claude Code gives you the most control, while if you use something like Replit or Lovable, you're kind of stuck in their system. Same with the Convex one, but I'm sure it's great if you're like first learning this type of stuff. But yeah, like it is kind of at the end of the day still a very technical thing. Oh wow, look at this. I'll add so we have the team members. We can copy link, Stripe integration, GitHub. I think the GitHub connection is kind of essential, but let's just add a site here. Does that work? Maybe it doesn't work. We'll do floppy DOS. Let's see what happens. Create site. And then it gives us the script that we want to embed on the site to actually track. That's really cool. And then we have the site here. And then we get analytics flowing through there. Let me see if I can trigger that somehow.
That is really neat. So you're in the Sites tab, but if you go to Overview, will it still show the high level on floppy DOS? Like it's like the control tower cockpit that we talked about?
Here, yeah. Like, so you can see the number of sites, my team members, total views. Let me see if I can get a view to show up in here. Hold on one second.
I'm kind of liking the dark mode neo-brutalism.
Yeah, I mean, it's also funny because, like, in general, having something different is nice. Like, because so much stuff is just the same. Like, making a good-looking app is relatively easy in the sense that if you use all of the predefined components and things like that,
Well, and to me, Andy, I think you hit a point which is kind of like relevant here. If you think about the success of like an app like Robinhood, they took a traditional, brokerage type of, setting or app, and really flipped the design on its head and made it. I don't know if you'd call that neo-brutalist style, but they made it such that it's different and it's appealing to a different demographic. And to me, that's similar to what we're doing here with the neo-brutalist style on Pulse Tower. it's appealing to a different demographic that most websites are built for. And like this to me reminds me of like an 80s arcade game, like sitting at the arcade. It kind of has a little bit of that feel, right? Like a little bit of, I don't know, Pac-Man or what have you, but it's still visually appealing. And I really like that about it.
Yeah, I think the colors are really fun. I think what throws it off mainly is the font choice. Feels very like sassy. Like that element makes it feel like taking me out of the theme, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think it looks great.
Yeah, I think the landing page could use a little work, but this screen and the dashboard is pretty neat. But you're right, maybe the fonts are a little bit like traditional SaaS. And so many people that are building with these tools are thinking outside of the traditional design, kind of lens. You and I have talked a lot about, there's an app called Pulsia, Polsia, that somebody has built as a AI-driven engine for building business and businesses, but he uses an extremely retro, old school sort of interface. I don't even know how you describe it other than old school and retro, and it kind of works. It kind of is like there's some draw to that, and I find it really kind of like appealing that it has, it's not a sassy type interface, because SaaS feels very vanilla and very generic.
And it like attracts developers when you have it kind of more technical looking, or having that kind of information there, like, or more
Yeah, while it's doing something, you want to pull up Pulsia and just show that site. So you could ask Pulsia like in the chat, and then you'll see on the left. But yeah, really kind of retro, old school interface that I don't know what design principles this is leaning into, but it's not what you would get out of like a traditional SaaS type of firm, but it's still very kind of cool and appealing.
It's funny because it reminds me, I don't know if you play incremental games. They're kind of one of my favorites, but it reminds me of the paperclip universe, or universal paperclips. So like the interface is like pretty similar, but these are incremental games.
It is very similar.
It even has the top thing, which is funny.
Maybe he did. Maybe he did use this as inspiration.
And then as you grow with this, like it's all, I mean, I guess it definitely is. It's definitely inspired by this now that I think about it, because the fact that it has this little thing, like that's a clear indicator. But yeah, like incremental games are basically like, see how it unlocks more stuff as you play. It like you're making more money in the game, so it's like kind of like just takes a while. But like this whole interface will be covered in elements, kind of like how his is.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely pulled from that, because like look at how similar the two things are.
There's probably like a history of that too.
Look at this, man. This guy's he built Pulsia. He's a one-man company, and he's got a $6.2 million annual run rate with almost 6,000 active companies. It's pretty crazy. If you scroll down on this page, Andy, you can see.
Is run rate how much has been spent?
Annual run rate, no, means what his annual revenue is. His revenue is $500,000 a month, because over 12 months, that would be $6 million.
That's so insane. I mean, it's definitely gotten a lot of attention.
Look at that. Under companies on Pulsia, the top company that just got created 2 minutes ago is called Only Daddy's Stuff. It's notable also that Pulsia, spelled backwards, is AI slop.
So like when you use this, did your app show up here? I guess that's how it works.
Yeah.
I wonder if all the revenue is from people signing up to use the app.
Oh, it is. He charges $50 a month to use Pulsia. Pulsia becomes your bot employee. And then he'll charge, like upcharge if you want it to, I think you get 10 tasks per month that the AI employee or bot will do for you. For example, send out a marketing email via, or, like scrape LinkedIn and figure out who we can market to. Like that's a task. And once you run out of your 10 tasks, if you want to keep going, you can pay a little bit more and have it do more tasks. So he's definitely, that's what his revenue is from.
I thought it was the apps themselves making money. That makes sense.
did we actually build a cockpit for folks to check in on their vibe coded apps? Let's see.
Cool. So you can see I'm logged into the app here. We'll call my workspace Unprompted. Save. Updates there. Stripe. GitHub is not set up yet, so we don't have that yet. And then when I invite you, I'll do the copy link there, and I can send you an invite to the team. Then we have our sites, and I added floppy DOS. And we have no views yet, but this is the dashboard here. Let me see if I can give it. I'm going to insert some dummy data. That probably would have been easier than trying to forcibly do it locally. As we went on a 30-minute excursion. Yeah, I mean, slight tweaks. I mean, it still says I haven't done a copywriting check. I basically do that also on landing pages, like the best practices for writing. Like you can see the M dash here. You can see, I mean, as we mentioned earlier, this is a very strange wording here. The theming doesn't need to be like evident, but I like this area here. I like the colors, how they're just kind of just all over the place.
Yeah, actually, if you go to the like this dashboard, you're exactly right. And then the homepage down at the bottom, I really like the look and feel of that versus like the home splash, like the, this part. This feels like it needs a little bit of a rework to be a little bit more like what you see down below.
Maybe we could tell them to make like a cool visual or something, like an animated thing on the right side.
Right.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, at the beginning of this episode, Andy, we said, like, we're building a bunch of apps using Claude Code, and we need a central place or a cockpit to help us help us manage those. And I think Claude Code was able to do that. I mean, there was definitely some more technical challenges on this particular build, but look at how beautiful this has turned out.
And look at here, we have, this is some dummy data, but the top pages and things like that. So we'll get these installed in our apps and kind of fix up those loose ends and kind of get this really tuned up so other people can sign up and track their own sites. But yeah, this is a great starting point, I think.
I think so too. Do you think we built a cockpit?
Well, it's something, but we're going to make it better over time.
And that's the
But yeah, I think it's a pretty good cockpit and a great starting point to collect analytics for our tools.
Well, and that's the beauty of using Claude Code and AI is like we can just keep refining this and making tweaks as the our thinking on it changes, and it's just kind of building on top of what we've already got here, which I think is a great start. So that was fun, Andy. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for watching.